Welcome back, everybody, to another episode this week on Taking a Breath podcast. I'm Parker, and this week joining me is Greg Santos. He is based out of California. He's the host of the CEO Life podcast and founder of the group The Morning Hustlers, a group of individuals dedicated to personal growth. And so, really incredible, dude. We have a great conversation not only about mentors, about leadership, but about just in general, how can you level yourself up to the next best version of you. So I'm super excited to have him on. I hope you enjoy the episode. I'm curious. So you started the CEO Life podcast. Tell us a little bit about that. How'd you get the idea for it and kind of where is it today?
Yeah. I love the well, I'm not in too love with the name CEO Life, but I feel like it encapsulates the message. But basically the premise of it is you're the CEO of your life, whether you want to be or not. Like, whether you want to accept that fact, like it's a fact, like you are the CEO of your life. And for a long time, I had a big challenge following through with the things that I say that I was going to do. And in December of 2018, I made this commitment to myself. Because I attempted a previous podcast before, but I was really inconsistent with it. And I said, you know what? This December, I am going to, and it was like November. So I was coming into December. I'm like, I'm going to create a podcast every single day. I'm going to do 31 days of podcasting so I can so I can front load a bunch of episodes. And I actually completed it. And that really felt good. Like, wow, I actually did it, because I doubted whether or not I can really do that. And at first I started off with talking about principles that I've learned from events and books, and just like little cool things like cold showers and all that stuff. And then as I started posting more, I started telling more of my story. And what it's evolved to is it's now a podcast where I literally just talk about what goes on in the day. Like, I woke up today, I felt this way. This is how I overcame it. Or did I even overcome it? And how come I didn't overcome it? What did I learn about that? Well, how come I didn't? And really diving in deep into that and explaining to my listener, like, look, I am a human being. Everybody that you look up to is a human being. Nobody's perfect. People talk about certain things and they're not really showing you the full story. And I want to show you that you can still be excellent, but we mess up. We're all human beings. And I walk you through like success out of my business, like failures out of my business, connections that I'm making. Like, I'm going to talk about the fact that I was on your podcast and I was on Pack of Alpha's podcast today, and like what my day looked like today. And it's really just like, what am my journey? Because I think about, wouldn't it be so awesome if we listened to like Tony Robbins while he was coming up, like him personally, like before he was Tony Robbins, or before Grant was Grant, or before the people we look up to were who they are. Wouldn't it be awesome to hear them speak to us while they were on their journey before they ever became big? So that's what I wanted to do with my podcast.
I love that. And I think that's so important. And the thing that we talked about the other day was this idea of like, okay, how do you find the people around you that okay, like they're actively pursuing success? Because you're exactly right. Like, no one is perfect. Obviously the people that are close in our circles, at our level that we're working alongside of, we're all in that of like, okay, we want to get to the next level. Like, let's pursue excellence together. When you were starting this personal growth journey, I know that you have kind of talked about this idea of like, okay, some people, like I did have to cut out some people just because it was kind of that process of just like, okay, I'm pursuing the next level essentially. What did that look like for you? And kind of how did you know, the right people that wanted to come along with you and you wanted to bring along in your journey?
Yeah, fantastic, man. So starting off, I had one really good friend that I hang out with all the time, and we were there for each other. But the reality is that when we'd hang out, all we did was smoke weed and talk about girls, and that was actively looking to talk to them. And he watched Naruto, I watched One Piece. And if you know anything about One Piece, at the time it had 750 episodes, and I made it my mission to watch all 750 episodes. And I accomplished that in a year and a half. So, smoking weed 7 days a week, watching anime. Some days I'd watch up to 20 episodes, and I would binge watch like crazy. And at the same time, I'm like going to these events, and I'm like, this something's not right here. I because we're filled with these messages about weed as well. Like, oh, like some people are like, it makes you lazy. Other people are like, no, it doesn't make you lazy. And then it was around the time where people were talking about why weed can actually be beneficial for you. So it was like tough. Like, I don't know. Like, I feel like it's making me lazy though. I really feel like it's demotivating me. And I started to distance myself away from smoking because I'm like, no, I don't like this. I don't think this is good. But my buddy had no interest in stopping.
Hmm.
And I thought, you know what? I think it's because I am listening to these people that I really respect and are successful. What if I bring those people, what if I bring him to be around that so we can see it and then we can grow together? The thing is, I took him to some events and the message wasn't received. Like
Hmm.
when we were talking about what took place, it wasn't something like, oh, and this was really great. It was like bashing the event. It was bashing the people who go to these events. And I was like, wait, what? And for a long time, you know, I resist. I'm like, I can change him, I can help him out. And I had many conversations with my family and other friends, and they were just like, you know, like you can't, like you can't make him drink the water. You can't make him make this decision. Like you have to distance yourself. And that was tough. I still remember, as a matter of fact, I was literally in the room that I'm in right now when the first time where he called me, because we would talk for like an hour sometime. Like you call me out of nowhere and I'd answer, we'd have a conversation. But literally in this room, I never forget, because I remember like how it affected me emotionally when I finally made that firm decision where my phone is ringing. I looked at it and I let it go to voicemail. I always answered. I let it go to voicemail and I didn't call him back. And we didn't talk. And then he called me again like a couple days later, didn't answer. And it went like a month of that. And that was hard. That was so tough. And it tore me apart because I love this guy to death, but I had to move on because if I kept hanging out with him, I wouldn't have accomplished my goals. So that opened up room for people to come in now. And it took a long time. I went like 2 years being by myself, really just going to events, going to Toastmasters meetings, like looking to meet other people. And um did you ask like how I was able to build and connect with other successful people as well? Or
Yeah, you just yeah. So how did you figure out who to move
okay.
forward with, and then also yeah, like who are you connected with now as a result of it?
Yeah, so a big thing here, and I think this is going to be this is very important. So whoever you look up to who's a very successful person, you're like someone you really resonate with. You're like, I really love this person's message. What you should do is now find a way to go to an event where they're speaking live. Because if you value what they say, there's people that are exactly like you who value everything that person says as well, and they're going to meet people who are like them. And that's where you can really make some amazing connections and friends. Now, one thing that like there's a couple strategies you can do. Like a big one, here's a really easy one to do is start getting when you go to these events, get people's contact information and tell them, hey, I'm going to put together a big WhatsApp group and we're all gonna be able to network together, and I'm gonna run that, and people will be so happy, like, oh yes, yeah, that sounds awesome. And then after the event, you put everybody in a WhatsApp group, you have everybody introduce themselves, they talk about certain things, and then people start to connect there, and you're the host of
Love
it, you're
that.
the leader of it. And then what you say is, hey, we're gonna be hopping on a Zoom this Sunday or whatever, plan the date, and we're gonna talk about some takeaways from the event. Who wants to go? Everybody's excited. Everybody's like, yeah. And you're now the host. And then just because you kind of manage things, your people are gonna gravitate towards you. You're gonna be sharing Instagrams and stuff. And now you're gonna find yourself in more and more conversations. And then from there, people you really click with, you start getting on more Zooms and you start putting together more weekly meetings, or even bi-weekly, not bi-weekly, bi-monthly, whatever works with your schedule. I decided to do every single day because I just needed that every day for myself. And I also found other people who were crazy enough to do it every single day. But
Love it.
yeah, yeah, right. So after that, like that's when you can really start to build that social circle. It really comes from finding that person you really respect. Go to that
Love it.
event, put together that group, and be the leader of that group. You don't even have to be the smartest person. You just have to organize it. People like think about it. There's nothing new under the sun. People pay thousands of dollars for you to organize stuff for them to make it make sense. Like, oh, like for example, I wanted to teach you how to be more charismatic or social, whatever it is. Well, you can go on YouTube or you can go read books. You can do all these different things, but you will pay somebody to tell you this is where you start and you have to do this, 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 that, and they put in a path for you. And you'll pay that person a lot of money to do that. So and that person doesn't even necessarily have to be the most smart. It's better if they are an expert in that field, right?
Yeah.
But the thing is, it's like people really appreciate organization. People look to leaders, and they like when you can make something easier for them. In this case, you're making it easier for them to make connections for them in their life.
Thanks so much for watching, and if you haven't already, make sure to hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Follow us on Instagram at Taking a Breath Podcast, and if you're interested in the full audio version of this episode, hit the link in the description, anchor.fm/Parker Mays, to listen now.